or fishing vessels. We call them sampans. So when it got real dark, it was rainy and stormy, and they let us down to a sampan. We went aboard the sampan, we headed down below deck, and they went right out by the Japanese gunboats. Of course, there's thousands of Chinese fishing vessels. The Japanese didn't pay attention to them because there's so many of them, you know. Went right out by them, went out to sea. We was out there for a while, and they waited till the tide come in so they could go up the river. So here we was aboard that sampan, and the Chinese guards they had, they let the people, see them people over there, they lived on the sampans. Some of them never even set land hardly, set foot on land, but they lived on them. And the soldiers let them know that their families, and they'd all be shot if they give any signal whatsoever to the Japanese. And they would have shot them all, you know. But the reason for that, there's what they call puppets over there. The puppets we had to beware of, because they would sell you out to whoever give them the most money. If the Japanese offered them more money, they'd tell them right where we was at. Or if we offered them more money, they wouldn't tell. I mean, they would work on both sides of the fence. Well, thank goodness we had some good men that took care of that, you know. And they were Chinese. Like I said before, I can say I'm here today because of the Chinese. I've got to give them credit for me being here today. How many times they saved my life, I don't know. So, and then that was the most scaring time of all. I never had to shoot anybody. I couldn't have killed them anyway because I had a Thompson machine gun. If you wanted to hit something here, you started over here. You know. I had a 45, and when I'd go to shoot my 45, I'd shoot right down. You'd be safe in front of me because it'd go right down. You know, because they'd jump up. That 45, they had a kickback. But with a carbine, I had a carbine too. I was a dead-eye shot with that. I could hit anything with that. Then we carried, now this was government issued, see, after we got over the, then I had, hand grenades. I think 3 or 4 hand grenades, you know. Well, the only thing I ever used them hand grenades for, when we was up safe, and when the tide would come in, get behind a rock and throw it in the water and get the dead fish, because they'd stun them fish, see, for quite a while. They were good for that. But anyway, that was my experience down the coast till the war was over. And
tell me about how you stayed in touch with family and friends while you were there.
Well, we'd write letters, and you was lucky to get them once every 3 months, but you'd write letters, and the most of mine my folks got was all scratched out because I was trying to tell my dad in a coded way, but this commanding officer that went through him, he was smart enough, he knew what was going on. But anyway, we'd get letters, but it was about 3 months. It took a long time. But then when the war was over, well, when we got, there's a lot of things I don't remember, but we started getting these parachute drops, and our camp up there at the main camp, we'd have what they call rickshaw races. And we'd get these rickshaws, and when we knew the plane was coming over with drops, we'd all have a race out to the air, or out to where they dropped them, see? Because we could talk to them by air. You know, you talk by voice with them. Anyhow, our commanding officer was a big man. He always got the smallest coolie of the whole bunch to pull the rickshaw. We call them coolies, I mean, that's what they called them. He always had the smallest one. He'd put that 45 behind his back, keep it going. Well, the poor guy couldn't run any faster, you know. He wouldn't have shot him, but he'd try to scare him to death. Usually I had the best one of all, because my rickshaw driver was pretty fast. He'd go like mad. But then we played ball out there and whatnot, and this was right towards the end of the war, and of course then, after I put on some weight, they sent me back down to Moy Island, and then I was down there for a while. No, they sent me to another place, Nantai Wu or someplace. But there was 3 islands, the Moy Island, Quemoy Island, and Little Quemoy. And I had all 3 of them. Well, towards the end of the war, there was a lot of explosion going on over Quemoy Island. So I sent the message in that there's a lot of explosions over there. Well, the commanding officer didn't tell me till afterwards. He said the Japanese was blowing up all their stuff because they knew the war was going to end, see, and they were blowing up everything. Well, I wasn't about to go over there to see what they're doing, that's for sure. But that's what it was. And then, after the war ended, we had to turn in, I had a coding machine. I had to take it to Shanghai. But this friend of mine and I, we worked a radio station the Japs had on Amoy Island because it was an airport there, the air base for the Japanese. And him and I worked that station till the war, till we got word to go to Shanghai because the war was over. But what was funny, we had a photographer from California. His name was Russell Reed. And he, for years, took pictures of the Oakland Raiders, and he traveled with them all the time, and he was a photographer. Well, as soon as they got word that the war was over, old Russell, he goes down to Moy Island, and 8,000 Jap Marines surrendered to him. They wouldn't surrender to the Chinese. Well, they didn't, I think they was afraid to, because the Chinese and the Japanese, there's a lot of problems there between the 2 of them. And I think the Japs were afraid they'd get shot, all of them. And they surrendered to this Russell Reed. And then the war was over, and we went down there. We set up headquarters there across from Moy Island. We had Japanese, they were friendly, and some of the guys would like to ski, you know, water ski. They had Jap pulling them gunboats, water skiing, and